What is going on, everybody, and welcome to a very special live stream of the Sports Coverage Podcast. My name is Andrew, and I am joined today by Ryan Henderson of Ryan's Big Blue Podcast, who is going to help me out with recapping Giants training camp in the first 2 days. What's up, Ryan? Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Excited to talk Giants. I mean, football's finally back, and it's exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm sure there's been a lot of fireworks so far at camp, is at least what I've seen all over social media and throughout the press. So I'm excited to
Yeah,
get your opinion because you are one of the people who has been there for the past 2 days watching this camp go down. And I just love to get some of your overarching, just what you're feeling so far going into camp, and then we'll go into some more issues that have been hot topics, such as, Cam Scatterboo, Jaxson Dart.
yeah. So I'm going to talk about it in general as a team. I'm not going to go into anything specific yet. But overall, I do like the vibes at camp. And I know that's a corny thing to say. It's been said all spring, OTAs, mini camp, but there really is a different energy within the Giants this season, and you can just feel it. Abdul Carter's doing backflips. Every player, they're coming out, they're hyping up the crowd. Russell Wilson's staying after to sign autographs. So it just seems like they're having more fun than they have in past seasons at camp. The players are more into it. And overall, as a team, there's not a glaring weakness on each side of the ball so far, which is something I like to look at because, if there is a glaring weakness of offense or defense, you have an issue. But, the offense had a sloppy day one, bounced back a little bit day two, especially Russell Wilson, but I'm sure we'll get into that. Um, and then day one they were sloppy, but the defense overall hasn't been standing out, but it hasn't been terrible. It's just Abdul Carter and that defensive line, they've been wreaking havoc.
Yeah, and I know that Abdul Carter against the offensive line has been interesting. We saw him take on Schmidt today when he was playing center in, believe this.
JMS.
Yeah, I believe in the 7-on-7s. And that did not look great for the offensive line, as Abdul Carter pretty much looked like he was steamrolling them there.
Yeah.
Was that something that you think you're concerned about for the offensive line, or you're more excited about for Abdul Carter?
I would say more like, look, I've never been the biggest JMS fan. I don't think he's that good of a player. I don't think he's going to be on this team past this season. Because I don't, he led the team, he led the league in the NFL in holding penalties his rookie year, and then sacks last year. So he obviously hasn't done a great job, especially when you're drafting him in the second round. But I don't think we have to look at JMS here and be like, this is a horrible play on his part, because the offensive line without the pads are at a pretty much disadvantage, because they're not allowed to play how they would in real games. There's less contact. But Abdul Carter, he just looks fast, man, and I think we got to be excited about him more than we look at how bad is the offensive line. But then again, the offensive line has made some good plays. James Hudson, blocking Brian Burns. So there's some ways it goes both ways. But the defensive line definitely has an advantage, and I think that's what you want to see. But Abdul Carter is fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think as we continue to see the offensive line kind of come together throughout training camp, I think it will be better. And I know one of the main things as well is Evan Neal got actually a warm welcome from the crowd and seemed to be kind of happy to be there for the first time in a
Yeah.
couple of years, it seems, which I think was definitely interesting to see, especially when that's one of the first things you wake up to on the first day of training camp is Evan Neal waving and embracing the crowd. So,
You know, I
yeah, so,
tweeted something about that.
yeah.
Um, because as I'm at camp, I'm putting out videos and clips and just information out on X, and Evan Neal, I have a picture of him waving to the crowd, and I was like, Evan Neal with a surprising cheer. They were cheering for him
Yeah.
after 2 years ago, or not even, that he was telling them to flip burgers and hot dogs. So it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think that was definitely an interesting experience there. And I mean, I'm not going to say that I've been an Evan Neal fan the past couple of years, but I certainly think that hopefully he can turn it around soon, especially because we could use some help from a guy who was drafted with the caliber like Evan Neal has. I think that he could definitely do a lot. I think Dash is in the chat there. You
Yeah.
you know him.
Shout
Thanks for
out Big
popping in.
Dash. That's my guy. Big Dash always supporting. A great Giants content creator, a great Giants fan. And if you don't already, go sub to Big Dash. Does some great Giants content. Just had to say that. Big Dash is the guy.
Yeah.
He's the man.
Yeah, appreciate it, Big Dash. Thanks for tuning in. Um, so in terms of also on the offensive side of the ball, a lot of news has been circulating around the QB room. We know that Russell Wilson was, of course, like we expected, named the QB1 going into Week 1 this season. And then Jaxson Dart came right into training camp yesterday and immediately threw a pick six, and then I believe I saw that there was another pick today. Is that something that concerns you at all, or do you think he's just going to need to get used to the new style of the NFL?
So this might be a little bit of a long answer because I feel like there's a few ways to look at
No,
this.
it's all right.
Russell Wilson is. It's clear that he's the best quarterback on this football team. There's no doubt about it. I mean, yes, he was just announced the QB1 for like the fifth time by Brian Dable, but when you're actually watching these guys play, he overall just looks the. Obviously, he's the veteran of the group and he's so polished, but you could just easily tell. Even someone who doesn't know football would be able to tell Russell Wilson is by far the best quarterback, and those people wanting to rush Dart in, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, Jaxson Dart, yes, he had a bad day yesterday, but it's nothing to worry about. We knew he wasn't going to be ready for Week 1. Like he's not a guy who's going to come in and light it up. This is a process. This is a project. And it's not like, I'm worried for Dart. He obviously had that rough day, but I do think we need to pump the brakes and give the guy time to develop. And I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to say anything bad about Dart when I say that Wilson's the best quarterback on this team. It's just, it is what it is. It's the truth. And Jaxson Dart, I'm not saying he's not going to be the franchise quarterback. I think he has a lot of potential, but we can't we're there's fans that have high expectations for him too early. We knew it would take time coming out of a Lane Kiffin offense who runs play action 53% of the time. So don't worry about Dart. He was 1 for 5 yesterday, 1 touchdown and an interception open camp, but it's about how him developing and getting better at each practice. And yet today he did have a little bit better of a practice, nothing crazy. But I just want to see that developing each practice.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the sub, Big Dash. I really
Oh yeah,
appreciate
Big
it.
Dash.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying here. I think that I came out of the draft knowing that Jaxson Dart would be limited in the chances he gets to play at the real level this year, where he's getting into games that actually mean something. Well, who knows how many games the Giants will have like that, but I think that we knew that he was going to be limited, and it just sucks to see a pick six on your first training camp appearance, because that's how people are now going to judge you
But
after that.
he did have some nice plays. He did have some nice plays before that. That was the 11 on 11, and that's obviously when it matters most because that's when
Yeah.
there's a pass rush. And yes, he threw an interception, kind of stared at the receiver. But before that, he was making some nice throws. He hit forgot who it was, Fedoni once and Scadaboo once. So he made some nice plays,
Nice,
but
yes.
overall, it wasn't a great day
Yeah.
when it mattered on 11 on 11s.
Yeah, and you kind of brought up another thing I wanted to talk about. Cam Scadaboo, for what I've seen, has been big in the receiving game so far in the drills in training camp. Is that something that you could see him more slotting into a different role as than Tracy, who's going to kind of be more of a ground attack guy?
I think we're gonna see both of them used in the receiving game. Tracy, I know they were doing some one-on-ones today, and Winston threw him. It was a wheel route, threw it up, and Tracy made a nice sliding catch. So I think we'll see them both used in the receiving game. But I think the main reason they're really working on a lot of that right now is because you can't really run the ball. I know they've done it a few times, but you can't really run the ball when you're not able to tackle. As it's each time you're just going to break through, and they've done it a few times to look at the footwork on the guys and how they're moving, physicality, and all that. But I think the reason that they're trying to implement them in the receiving game right now is to keep them active, see what they have, and then as they get more into camp, if they like what they see, then yeah, maybe that'll be something they look into throughout the season.
Yeah, and I actually asked you for one of your mailbags, I think a couple of days or a couple of weeks ago now even,
Yeah.
about who is really truly going to be an RB1 on this roster, if Scadaboo is really going to be a backup behind a Tracy throughout the season. And I'd love to kind of get your thought on that now. I know we're only 2 days into training camp, but get your thoughts on it again and how it seems like he's being used, especially in these drills, because maybe that could be a signal to kind of what each of their game styles are going to be or how they're going to be used in the future.
Scadaboo has mainly been in with Dart, so Tracy has been with the ones when Russ is in. So I still think Tracy's the starter and definitely will be going into the season. I don't think it's far off. Like I think Scadaboo will get, he'll get his carries, he'll get his receptions when they use him in the receiving game. Um, so I don't think Scadaboo's a clear backup, but I also don't think he'll be passing Tracy anytime soon. At least heading into the season, maybe who knows what happens during the season. But Tracy definitely should be the starter, as he's the veteran at this point. After your rookie year, you're considered a veteran in my eyes. So I want to see him develop, get better, and if Scadaboo can earn that starting role throughout the season, and we have a running back competition, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think some competition there. And of course, Tracy and Scadaboo are pretty much polar opposites in the types of running backs each of them are. Scadaboo, a little bit shorter, big guy who can break tackles and kind of get big plays basically, and Tracy, shifty, pretty fast. So it's going to be interesting. I think that if the Giants do it right, they can utilize him or each of them in their own respective ways, and we could take advantage of that, especially whenever Dart will get into games as well. He had a lot of rushing attempts and rushing success in college, so maybe the three of them could create a really nice backfield platoon there in terms of rushing threats. For receiving, though, Malik Neighbors has pretty much been all that he's been cracked up to be so far in training camp. A couple touchdowns already in the 11-on-11s, and he's looked very, very good, especially with Deonte Banks, who although he hasn't necessarily lived up to what everyone thought he was going to be, he's still a pretty good corner, and Malik Neighbors seems to be dusting him when he's in coverage. I'm going to kind of ask the same question for Abdul Carter earlier. Is that something you should be more scared about for Deonte Banks, or just happy for Malik Neighbors about?
So there were a few times where he even beat Paulson Adebo today, CB1.
Yeah.
And to me, the coverage Adebo had on him was not bad at all. It was actually pretty good. It was just he was able to. He was Neighbors was just the more shifty. Neighbors is insane. That's the first thing I gotta say. Neighbors is up there with the top receivers in the league, and Russell Wilson's fitting into tight windows that I'm not looking at it like damn Adebo, because again, with the offensive line, the corners are at a disadvantage when it comes to no pads, as they can't be as physical. Um, but you brought up Banks. I am a little worried about Banks. There are some tendencies he still has from last season that hurt him and ultimately had him benched in a few games. But he is starting to show more effort, and that was one of the big things. And that Banks flop battle is something definitely to monitor. But yeah, no, I'm just excited for Neighbors again there. Nothing really scared about with the defense just yet.
Yeah, I think that I would agree with you there. I think the defense, all in all, is we know it's going to be probably our stronger side of the ball going into the season, especially when you put it together with the defensive line that everyone's raving about across the league. Um, so yeah, I think you're right. I think that our secondary is going to be the biggest question mark there in terms of how they play the season, because of course there's a lot of new additions there. There's a lot of young guys. There's some veteran presence there that can maybe help incite some wisdom onto a secondary that just hasn't necessarily been amazing the last couple of years. So I would very much like to see kind of any or all of that out of the defense as we continue to head through training camp and into the season. If you have anything I missed that you want to talk about or kind of bring up, I'd love to hear it. Anything else you noticed that you thought was interesting from the first 2 days?
Flott versus Banks. A lot of people flipping out that yesterday that Flott was the starting CB2 on the outside. Then Banks started today, and they both rotated in both days and got pretty much an even amount of snaps and reps. So I'm not looking into any of that. It is a legit battle, it seems. I thought at first that it would maybe be to just push Banks and get the most out of him, have him show more effort. But their play hasn't been, far off in camp so far, and that's a little concerning with Banks. I know I said I wasn't too concerned about him, but you drafted him in the first round. What 2, 3 years ago? He's going into season three. You would hope you had more out of him. And I do think if Flott outplays him through camp and the preseason, he is going to take that CB2 role, and that's concerning for the Giants because how bad would Banks be at that point? That Flott, who hasn't done much of anything in his Giants career, he's had some flashes, been pretty inconsistent. That he's our CB2 on the outside, that's concerning. But I do trust Andrew Phillips in slot, and then Paulson Adebo as CB1. I like that as long as he can stay healthy.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. I think that um, it's it's a little concerning that we haven't really been able to develop a guy like Banks into the guy that we really drafted him to be, and I wish that we did, because that would really have been a big help to our secondary in the last couple of years, and especially this year still, even though we've made some bigger signings. Kind of flipping it back to the offensive side of the ball, I want to talk about Wan'Dale Robinson a bit, because he he's been in an interesting role the past couple of years with the Giants, and now he's heading into training camp, and he's already made some big plays and touchdowns already. Where do you think Wan'Dale Robinson is going to really fit into this offense?
Well, I think he is going to be one of the guys, and I wasn't necessarily, not thinking this, but I wasn't thinking this as much as I am now, that Russell Wilson is going to really help out. I think he's going to be one of the guys that benefits from this addition the most. I mean, he had the quietest 90 catch season that I've ever seen last year with 93 receptions for 699 yards, and that was with four below average quarterbacks. Um, so I think his role will be increased. They're using him in ways I haven't seen them use him before. Fades in the back of the end zone. He's making some athletic grabs. And, usually you look at him, you think he's a screen guy, a yak guy. You start getting him the ball 10, 15 yards down the field, he could be pretty explosive, and those lead to big plays. And, he's shifty. He's a guy who's going to make plays. And that there was a diving catch he made today that was insane, that you would have had to be there to believe it, or see it to believe it, because of how crazy of a catch it was. So I do really think he takes a big step up this year, and becomes a pretty big player on this offense.
Yeah, and I guess I'll ask kind of a similar question for Jalen Hyatt, because we know kind of what he was brought in to be into this Giants team. He was, of course, a long reception threat in college, a guy who could kind of get free and make pretty big plays, usually 60 yards plus. He made multiple of those throughout his Tennessee career, and now he just hasn't really found a role with the Giants so far, even though I think that he could potentially be one of the scariest receivers on this roster. I guess I'll ask the same question for him. Where is he really going to fit in, especially with kind of a new, potentially new QB core that kind of will play a little differently?
In the spring and in minicamp, the OTAs, you asked me this question, I would have told you he's going to improve greatly from Russell Wilson, and I think he definitely improves a lot. But I mean, what's improving for him? One touchdown with 300 yards. Like, that would be a breakout. That would, at this point, that's a breakout season for Jalen Hyatt after only putting up, 62 yards last season, and 373 his rookie year, still yet to get a touchdown, and only having 31 receptions in his time with the Giants. So I think he's going to be better because Russell Wilson's there, and he will look to hit him on the deep balls and explosive plays every once in a while. But then I was thinking he was going to break out 700 yards during spring and OTAs, but then I stopped drinking the Kool-Aid, and or my bias went out of it, and I look at the offense as a whole. Where is he really, getting his snaps and yards? Because if you look at it, Malik Neighbors, we can both agree, will have at least over 1,000 yards, maybe 1,200 like last season, maybe more, 1,500 even. So that's 1,500 yards right there. Wan'Dale and Slayton both can be 700 to 800 yard receivers. Maybe one of them cracks 1,000. I don't think so, but in that upper hundreds range, the high hundreds. And then that's not even including running backs if we use them in the receiving game, and the tight ends. That it just seems like that's already a lot of yards for the Giants. How much more can there be? Like, how much? I don't. It's like an apple. I feel like after everyone's bit the apple, how much is there left to bite for Jalen Hyatt? And I think all he has left really is the skin.
Great analogy there.
Thank you.
That's pretty good. Yeah, no, I agree, and I think it was interesting. You kind of had a similar response. We talked to Bobby pretty much after OTAs as well. I know you did as
Yeah, I
well,
watched
but
that. Good
we,
episode.
yeah,
Great
thank
episode.
you, thank you, you as well. And
Thank
we
you.
talked to him about Jalen Hyatt specifically, and he kind of had a similar answer to what you were saying at the beginning, that it looks like Jalen Hyatt is going to be in a much different role this season, and potentially have, well, what we can say is a breakout season, but although it's just
Hmm.
would be nice to have for a receiver. Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, I think he has a high upside. I think that he needs to be used a little bit better. I think that Kafka needs to realize what kind of receiver he is, that he's not going to really be good at any slants or comeback routes or
You
really
know,
anything like
it's
that.
go route. It's not. It's just go route, use your speed, catch the ball, and
Yeah.
he's dropped the ball like 50%
Yes.
of the time last season. So
Yeah.
that's another thing. But
Yeah.
shout out Bobby Skinner for sure, though. I might be if I'm at camp tomorrow. There's a chance I am. I'm gonna, we're gonna do something live after. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah. So shout out Bobby's Giant Station show for life.
Of course, of course. Yeah, it's awesome. It was great to talk to him as well, and he had a lot of good insight, as you do, of course, as well. So,
Thank you.
yeah, I think that just kind of overarching what I've seen so far from the first 2 days is one, Russell Wilson is certainly going to improve a lot of the receivers that we have on this roster. Of course, a lot of them are still young, and I'm hoping that he'll kind of make a difference there. The defensive line is going to be our biggest superpower. Of course, we've seen Abdul Carter already be a playmaker just in the first 2 days of training camp, which is exactly what we want to see. Jaxson Dart needs a little bit more time to develop, but he's going to get there eventually. But we just can't judge him on what's going on in the first few days. And Scatterboo and Tracy. Scatterboo is really going to be the backup here, but he's been looking good, and both of them have been making receptions as well, not just working on the ground. Anything else that I missed?
Well, and also if anyone in the chat has any questions about camp that if they want to know if they're interested, I'll answer any questions they have. But some things that we could talk about. I'm looking through my notes right now on the everything I had. Roy Robertson Harris was at defensive tackle two the most, alongside Dexter Lawrence, at least for day one, and a little bit of day two. I know they had Carter everywhere. He was there a little bit. But Roy Robertson Harris looks like the front runner to make the team at BDT2, which is a little disappointing because I was more of a fan of Ledbetter. But you know, if he ends up DT2, obviously you're gonna root for him. But I don't know how much hope I have for him. Um, Other than that, Greg Dulcich. I got to talk about Greg Dulcich. I became the biggest Greg Dulcich fan today. Um, I remember during the spring and just doing my 53-man roster predictions, I was like, Greg Dulcich sucks. I don't want him anywhere near the Giants roster. We have three tight ends. Get rid of him. He balled out today and had a touchdown yesterday. I saw a lot that I liked from Greg Dulcich. He had a nose for the football. Made a nice play on a throw from Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston and him have a great connection. Had two touchdowns from Jameis Winston today. And he's a guy I think that sneakily could make the team, especially if they decide to part ways, get rid of Bellinger, as I know that's being talked about to save some money. Although I wouldn't want to do that. I really do like Dulcich, and if he can continue doing this through camp, maybe he's a guy who makes the team. It is an uphill battle for him, but I mean, I, we don't have a guy who's really stood out at tight end. Theo Johnson, young guy, had a pretty solid season last year towards the end, and has been pretty good at camp so far. But Dulcich is a guy who no one expected to come out, and I've seen a lot to like at him. And actually, shout out to the Toledo tight end coach because he retweeted something I posted a video about Dulcich, and I saw him retweet it.
I'm actually watching that very video as we speak. So I want to see this. Yeah, I mean he got a lot of separation there.
Yeah, and he knows for the football, turned around at the right time, caught it,
Yeah.
and brought it in.
Who was on him? I can't. Who was
I
supposed to be
didn't.
on him?
Let me see. I didn't. I know for the Tyrone Tracy, the play I put out a video about him, that sliding catch. Chris
Yeah.
Ford was on him, a linebacker.
Mm.
For that Dulcich play, I'm gonna try and go over there now and take a look at it real quick.
Yeah. So he was playing with Jameis Winston. He had 2 touchdowns. Interesting.
Yeah, no,
Very interesting.
he balled out when Jameis was
Yeah.
out there. That's when he really got his
Yeah.
his his best play out of him. And Winston stepping up in the pocket on that play was a great play by him. And
Yeah.
then Dolchich, I'm trying to look right now, running up to him. The guy, whoever it was running very fast. It's hard to tell.
Yeah,
Um,
I would hope he would be running pretty fast after Greg
you know, I,
Dulcich just got that much separation on you,
you know,
and you're
so I would say really, I don't know what happened there with the defense. Something must have happened, like they didn't communicate because it didn't seem like that guy was really even in coverage. He just missed his assignment because he was late getting there. But I don't think he
yeah,
was really, in coverage with him. He just, Dolchich ran through the seam and got him.
yeah.
It's 47 though, 47 on the defense.
I don't know if we're gonna be able to find that one.
Oh, I believe it's. No, I don't. Nah, never mind.
Let me see if
I'll,
I can
I'll
search
try
this.
and confirm. I'll try and confirm it, but
Okay, wait. Let's see. We got this.
yeah, we got it.
All right, we're gonna find this.
It's not a guy who's going to make the team. I can tell
Ty
you that.
Summers. Ty Summers.
Oh, it was Ty Summers. Okay, that's pretty
Yes.
interesting because I thought maybe he could make the team. So
Interesting. You also reminded me there. The Giants gave Dexter Lawrence an extra $3 million in incentives today, which I think that makes a lot of sense considering he is our best player by far. So, very, very, very happy to see him kind of earn the money that he definitely deserves for sticking around with us for as long as he has. So I'm very happy with that as well. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm looking at the rest of these Dolchich plays that other guys have been posting as well. Yeah, talking Giants yesterday.
yeah, he
Kinda
put up.
in traffic.
Dolchich.
I
Yeah,
mean that's a pretty good catch right there.
yeah. No, I mean Dolchich is someone to watch out for. Just saying. Maybe he stood out because of the long hair, but I actually like what I saw from him on the field.
Yeah, certainly. I
Trey,
think that.
Trey Hawkins also. Trey Hawkins and Andrew Phillips, 2 interceptions today. One each. One interception each today. Trey Hawkins, though, specifically I'm watching out for because Phillips, we know, had a great rookie season, and I trust him. But Hawkins, you just got to hope he doesn't have a sophomore slump. Hawkins hasn't done much of anything in his Giants career yet. Been pretty injured. Got his first career interception against the Saints last year. Maybe year 3 is the year where he can turn into that depth corner we need. Because I like what I saw. He jumped in that ball today, and overall had a pretty solid day in coverage.
Yeah, I'm watching Malik Neighbors in his one-on-one action right now. I mean, just to kind of
Yeah, he
get
was
an
insane
idea of
today.
what's happening here. It's
Yeah,
it's certainly impressive.
that was the perfect throw though from Russell Wilson there.
Yes, it
To
was.
fit that in that
It was.
tight pocket.
Yeah, but as we wrap it up today, we can say at least we are not the New York Jets losing their starting quarterback on.
Yeah, the beat
Day
reporters for the Jets. I have to say one thing before we go about the beat reporters for the Jets.
Yes.
I've never been a big fan of a lot of beat reporters, but the Giants have some good ones. I like Jordan Renan.
I do
I
as
like
well,
Art
yep.
Stapleton, Doug Rush, and a few others. Patricia Traina. But the Jets beat reporters. They acted like this was a season-ending injury
Yeah.
for Justin Fields, that we never see him again, and apparently someone stepped on his toe. And I'm not saying that it's
Yeah.
not going to be serious and that he won't be out, for camp, but he's going to play week 1. And yes, he got carted off, but because the locker rooms are so far from the practice facility, so
Yes.
I mean, he's not going to walk there.
I mean,
But I don't know. I just feel like they exaggerated that for clicks.
I picked up my phone this morning and I see like Bleacher Report, ESPN, all caps, like Justin Fields carted off in training camp.
Yeah, and it came from the beat reporters.
Also said apparent leg injury, which I don't think that is.
Yeah, it turned out to be the toe.
I don't think that's necessarily what happened. Let me see if I can find exactly what this said, because this is just awful. I might have cleared it already. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's just terrible. But, at least I didn't have a heart attack this morning like I would assume most Jets fans did. So
Yeah.
It's good to see that. I'm very happy with what we're seeing. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me.
Of course, anytime. We're gonna have you on during the season, throughout camp and stuff as well. We'll get some stuff going.
I appreciate it. go subscribe to Ryan's Big Blue podcast. That is where Ryan Henderson will be talking New York Giants with you all for the rest of training camp and throughout the season. You're going to be at training camp maybe tomorrow and then a little bit more next week?
So maybe tomorrow, probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
So because I have tickets, it only let me do 6 because I got 2 tickets for each day. I'm gonna
Yeah.
try to go to maybe that joint practice with the Jets. I didn't get tickets for it, but I could find some possibly. But Saturday, Friday definitely, not Friday maybe, Sunday definitely, as that's the first padded practice. I hope it doesn't rain. I know it's on the forecast.
Yeah.
And then next Friday and Saturday as well. And then that's all the ones I have right now. Maybe I could find some others. But yeah, I'm gonna try to get out just because I get a better analysis when I'm there.
Yeah.
And
Where is the Jets Giants practice? Is that
Jets are in Florham Park in Long Island. So
Yeah.
and the Giant.
Where is
The joint practices.
Yeah. Do you
Um,
know what the date for the one where it will be at the Jets facility?
so August 12th is in Florham Park
Okay.
for the Jets, and then August 13th is
Okay.
in Quest Diagnostics for the Giants.
I'm going to see if I can get at the Jets because I'm actually a lot closer to the Jets
Oh, that's
than I
that's
am to
good
the
then. I'm
Giants.
I'm an hour and 45 away from the Jets, so that's good.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll come on then, and we'll talk about that
Yeah.
practice. If you
So
want.
I will take a look. I don't know how exactly I'm going to find a way into this, but I'll do my best, and I guess we'll see what happens there. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for some amazing analysis. I can't wait to hop on with you soon, and also make sure you guys all go follow Ryan on Twitter because he's been posting a lot of awesome stuff from training camp.
Yeah, I'm not trying to flood the Twitter, but I keep I'm like I
Yeah.
have to keep posting.
Yeah, got a lot of good videos. I used some videos today to look at some of the things you're talking about, so much appreciated. But yeah, like and subscribe. I hope everyone enjoyed this special live stream recapping Giants training camp. We'll be back to our normal episode in a couple weeks, but we can announce that we're going to have Ryan Cohen of John Boy Media on very, very soon, so stay
Wow,
tuned.
nice.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that episode because he is a very fun guy, and I'm excited to talk some baseball with him. So if you're a baseball fan, stay tuned for that in the next couple of weeks. But thank you so much, Ryan, again for joining me.